oil theft is a problem that the federal government has had a hard time tackling for decades. Nigeria as a country loses millions of barrels of crude oil a year because of theft and vandalism, causing vast financial losses for the country. Nigeria has been experiencing some of the worst crude oil theft in its history, with millions of dollars lost daily. Several allegations have been made against the ability of security agencies to guard pipelines. Recently, the chairman of Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NURPC, Minga Komolafe, revealed that only 132 million barrels of 141 million barrels of oil produced in the first quarter of 2022 were received at export terminals. However, with the arrest of a supertanker with a capacity for 3 million barrels of oil, about 3 times the 1 million barrels per day BPD currently being produced by Nigeria, clearly validates the widely held suspicion that international collaborators are involved in siphoning the country's oil wealth in connivance with a syndicate of thieves and high-level government officials. So joining us on the morning show as we discuss the issue of oil theft in Nigeria is Babajide Soyode, former General Manager of Corporate Planning and Business Development, NNPC. Engineer Soyode played a prominent role in the establishment of the Warri Refinery, Kaduna Refinery, and the successor refining division of NNPC, having served as Refinery Manager, a General Manager of Warri Refinery, and General Manager of Kaduna Refinery at various times. He's presently the technical consultant to the Group President, Chief Executive Officer of Dangote Industries Limited for refinery and petrochemical projects. Welcome to the morning show. My pleasure, and it's our pleasure to have you on the show today. I'd like to ask you, why have we not been able to crack this connivance between probably government officials, international thieves, and everybody in this ecosystem?
I cannot hear you properly.
Good morning, sir. Once again, can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
Speak louder, yes. Please.
Excellent.
Okay.
Why have we not been able to crack this connivance going on between everybody in the ecosystem?
Well, you said it now. Includes everybody in the system. That's why we have not been able to. I think they've been diverting our attention, saying that artisanal refiners are the one responsible. But that's it's most unlikely, because if artisanal refineries were responsible and they were stealing several 100,000 of crude a day, all the people in the Delta will have died from the soot and the pollution. Now it's just, small thing. But in any case, we now see firsthand who is part of the problem or the game.
Well, sir, very quickly. The federal government of Nigeria has always been claiming that to reveal the identity of those behind oil theft in Nigeria. $40 million worth of crude oil on a daily basis. And government Ekpemukolo, popularly known as Tumpolo, has also been quoted as saying that indeed government knows those behind crude oil theft. If everybody is involved, so who is government going to name? As Garuba Shehu alleges, do you think that government can summon the will to name, identify, and punish those behind crude oil theft? Or is just talk to please the public?
I don't think government can summon the will. This thing has been on for many years. Okay, let me tell you the people who must have been involved or should have known in this case. First of all, before a VLCC, the largest shipping tanker, can come into the country, somebody must have registered it at the Nigerian National Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, or Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Commission, Regulatory Commission. It didn't. Who is the owner of the field? Who is the owner of the field? The owner of the field must have had somebody in charge of that field. All right? The customs should have known. All right? The Navy should have known. Okay? And it's just a few. But we didn't know until the ship got to Equatorial Guinea before we raised alarm and we were able to cut it. In fact, it is also a shame that our Navy could not stop a ship that coming into our water to steal and has to be Equatorial Guinea. I don't think the government can summon the will. Because if they wanted to, they would have stopped it a long time ago.
So in the past, a name has always popped up. No pun intended. The name is Government Ekpemukbolu, popularly known as Tompolo. Over the weekend, there was a video circulating that a surveillance contract had been given to him again, like it was given to him at some point. Is this the way to go? Is this the way to go? Giving
you mean the
Tompolo contract
Tompolo or something
for
like that?
surveillance of pipelines? Is this the way to go?
No, I don't think so. Look, it is like asking kidnappers, the king of the kidnappers, to be monitoring kidnappers. Look, we have an army. It has been better to give the community chiefs to monitor. We've been doing this we've been in oil industry since 1954. Why now we are going to ask just one man and his gang? Then what happened? If the next administration fails to renew the contract, what happened? They will go into stealing themselves. I don't know the man, but I think for a nation of Nigeria to be having one month, you leave the Navy, you leave the Army, you leave the Air Force. Gentlemen, this is the age of drones. We can use drones. We can use drones. It's much cheaper and more effective. The point is that too many people are involved in this thing. And I don't care. If Tompolo can do it, fine. Maybe. But what is the contract? How is he going to cut down the stealing? How much stealing is being done? What will it reduce to? In how much time? How long is the contract? But I think this is really nonsense. It's a disgrace to us in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, to Nigerians in general.
But why is it so easy for people to steal Nigeria's crude oil? I mean, I get the point about connivance, about collusion. After all, the MV Heroic Idun that was intercepted in Equatorial Guinea had all kinds of people aboard the vessel from the Philippines, from wherever, coming to steal crude oil in Nigeria. Does this have anything to do with the failure of the refineries, or there is no connection whatsoever?
Oh, well, this has something to do with refineries. Let me give you some figures. The Navy got about 3 million barrel tanker. Multiply that by $100 per barrel. That is about $300 million or $30 million a day, per day, or per the tanker. Now you tell me, if our people supposed to be in charge are inclined to corruption, how many of them can't you bribe with $300 million? And that's just one tanker. Now, with all the crude they've been selling, we may have about 4 to 6 tankers in operation at any time. Because if you listen to our oil company, they say they have been losing about 90%, 95%, 40%. So we will say roughly between 400 to 600,000 barrels a day. How many tankers would that be? And the shame of it is that there could only be a few tankers. A few tankers again. Now, you have Lloyd's Register. You can subscribe to a program they have in which also, by the way, traffic guru and they use. You can monitor shipping in our coast 24/7. 24/7 from office of the regulatory office, from the office of NAPIM, you can monitor. There not a lot of tankers involved. They don't have to be. It is just that for some reason they choose not, or they are silenced. I don't know.
So, make me understand this. Is it that you're saying the commissions, for instance, don't even have that program of Lloyd's Register so they can even know how many ship on our waters and what they are doing and what they are taking out in the first place? If everything is open source there and it's real time, is it that we don't even know all of that?
I don't think they do, but I stand to be corrected.
You don't think they know about the Lloyd's Register?
But in any case, look, what has happened has happened. They should have it now. You, the media, should insist and let us all know when they have it. They should have it now. NAPIMS, who is responsible for monitoring the production of all the joint ventures, should also have it. At least we will know who is coming in and who is coming out.
But if crude oil theft is as lucrative as it is said to be, do you think there can never be if crude oil theft is this lucrative, and given Nigerians' penchant for primitive accumulation and corruption and collusion, do you think that this problem can really be solved anytime soon?
I think so.
How?
First of all, you see this ship that has been arrested, you will make an example of it. All right? And you will strictly inform our Navy, all right, that any ship that trespasses without approval of a regulatory authority should be disabled. And they know how to disable the ship. Any. All right? And anybody that is involved, in the first place, what is it? Please, you know, in the oil industry, we have what they call LACT unit. That is, it stands for Lease Automatic Custody Transfer. What it does is, or really we should call it Production Automatic Custody Transfer. In other words, when you have crude that you have produced, you want to transfer it, you have to go through the unit, LACT unit or PACT unit. It is a very precise measurement instrument, and is monitored or is calibrated by the regulatory authority, by the sender and by the receiver. All right? So a man who says he's losing 300,000 barrels a day a month, 10,000 a day, by the time he has lost 2 or 3 days, he should have known and discontinue production. And if you know, you shut up, people would ask, what is wrong? This problem can be solved. It's not only Nigeria that they are producing oil now. But when we make people, we make example of them. If the top is clean. If the top is clean.
So this LACT unit you talked about, to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, sir, it sort of looks like the Kimberley process with diamonds, where you can pretty much track what is going on. So is it that we're not even aware of this? Because the last time we remembered, it took somebody playing in the sector, I think it was Mr. Tony Elumelu, that had to cry out. I said, we're not even getting anything from our wells. So is it that we're just oblivious, or it's like a top to bottom corruption we're doing and we're trying to act brand new?
I think it's the latter. It is the latter, top to bottom. Look, I just gave you a sum. $300 million in one instance. And you have a society that is prone to corruption. And in this day, when the foreign exchange is so scarce, and I'm talking, this is just one tanker. There may be 2 or 3 or 4 tankers a month. So whom can't they bribe? It is just too much money. I think, first of all, we must start at the top. And where is our National Assembly? They must bear responsibility for this. Where is the petroleum committee of the Assembly? They must bear responsibility for it. I mean, with all the money they are making, they must bear responsibility for it to the people of Nigeria.
Okay, it's obvious that what we're dealing with is clearly organized crime. And that's why I was asking whether there is a way forward out of this. The Buhari administration, the lawmakers you talked about, the committees you mentioned, everybody makes the right noises about the need to check crude oil theft, but nobody has been able to move the needle in any positive direction. By next year, we'll have a new government in place. What in specific terms will you be advising that new government that will come next year with regard to this? Because Nigeria is just losing money with all the challenges that next government will have to face.
You've heard of Mission Impossible in the United States?
Yes, sir.
That's where the FBI organized to tackle the mafia in the 20s and the 30s and so on in the US. Okay? Unfortunately, we may have to organize something like that. An armed division, very well trained division of the police and the army, whatever, security, to tackle this thing. Talking will not do it. But first and foremost, the government should develop Niger Delta in a meaningful way. All this commission and so on they are doing is just a waste of time. They have not done anything. Because if the people of Niger Delta are really enjoying this, if they are benefiting, they themselves will probably, because they are dying. You may not know it now. Believe me, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you will see what is going to happen. But you must develop the region. Otherwise, turn their oil over to them. Let all of us have, when both you have gold, mind your gold. If you have silver, mind yours. If you have cocoa, mind your cocoa. And let's just stay, for all of us share offshore oil, which is plenty of it for the federal government. But what I will say though, the government coming in next year must organize firmly to stop this thing. It's not going to be easy, but it can be done.
Okay, 2 things I'd like to pick your brain on, sir. Still talking about crude oil theft. NNPC has been commercialized, yes. But these are part of some of the things they're supposed to have in revenue in their JVs that's been stolen away in crude oil theft. And is it that nobody's saying anything about the NNPC? And secondly, I see your very stellar records, I should say, with the Warri Refinery, Kaduna Refinery and all of that. Why can't our refineries produce oil?
Our refineries can work. Nothing wrong with them. I don't want to go into that, but you quote me, our refineries can work. Nothing wrong with all refineries. In fact, our refineries are relatively new. If I did in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 70s, and 80s. There are refineries built in 1920 in Texas. They are still working. What we do with all refineries in the industry, we upgrade them, we update them. And that is what TAM is supposed to be doing. Now, I don't know the exact program, what they are doing now in NNPC. I hope they are doing some upgradation. But in any case, I tell you, our refineries can work. But if the owner, the government, does not want the refineries to work, they will not work. Who got the refineries to this day? It's not an NPC. It's not an NPC. If you award turnaround maintenance contract to a political person that doesn't know, a fishmonger, a trader, what will happen? A refinery is supposed to every 2 years, is not upgraded for 11, 12 years. What will happen? In any case, our refineries can work if they want it to work. And it's not an NPC that will make it work. Unless they force NNPC to do it.
Earlier this month, the NNPC had an event at which the organization launched what they called an app that can be used to track the movement of vessels. And that app is also supposed to enable community members to report cases of crude oil theft. Do you see the possibility of community members in these oil-bearing communities rushing to NNPC or a government agency to report and say, oh, you know, somebody is stealing crude oil? Do you see that kind of possibility?
Community involvement is key. After all, Tom Polo that you have just commissioned is going to use community members. His team will be taken from the community. It's information. You have to, and they don't have to come to Lagos. We have regional offices of the regulatory commission. They can report there. They have regional office of security. If you take good care of the community, and it does not mean you just take care of one kingpin. With all the money we are producing from oil, go and look at the Niger Delta. Go and look at Niger Delta. Is it fair? Let me tell you an example. You know LMA Petrochemical, all right? At one time, people were stealing from it. When the new owners actually got the community involved, not one drop of petrochemical has been stolen for almost 10 years or more now. All right? Because the community members say, if you dare tap into this plant, you will not live alive. So community members must be involved.
I asked a question before, and I'll ask it again. The NNPC was recently commercialized, and is most of their commercial assets, or what is supposed to bring revenue to them, that is being frittered away in crude oil thefts? What are they doing about this? What should they be doing about this?
No, let's get something clear. Most of the oil production, NNPC has a percentage, 60%. But they have operators who are 100% responsible. The joint venture partners are the operators. They are fully responsible. They are getting paid for it. And I mean, getting paid. They are getting paid operating fee per barrel. All right? So you don't blame NNPC for that. You cannot blame them. The operators are okay. This one they have done at Akpo is being operated by Total. They are 100% responsible. NNPC cannot even enter there without telling Total. That's the arrangement all over the world. You have an operator, you are a partner, a silent partner. You don't go and disturb him. He is responsible for everything, from exploration to production to security, everything.
So why can't the operator secure? Why is it beyond them?
That is the thing. That is what is amazing to me. You know what? I've told you. We've got somebody now. This badge. Total to explain what was the ship doing in the field. The The ship should not be in the field. It should be at a terminal. What was the ship doing in the field? It's a very simple question. Now I will hold NNPC responsible and the regulatory authority if they don't hold Total responsible to answer that question. You understand? That ship does not belong in the ship. It must go to a terminal. It must go to a terminal.
Okay. Well, Nigeria cannot meet its OPEC crude oil production quota. We even cannot provide enough electricity. The same argument that is put up is either crude oil theft or pipeline vandalism, either with regard to gas or to finished product. What do you think? Do you think the crude oil theft crisis and pipeline vandalism both explain all the problems we have in the oil and gas sector? And the expectation is that perhaps when the Dangote refinery comes on stream, all these problems will be mitigated. Is that argument correct?
No. You cannot hold Dangote responsible for what is happening in a production field. You cannot. It's silly. In fact, Dangote will be getting his oil from a field or a number of fields. So you cannot hold Dangote. Dangote refinery is here in Lekki. It has no jurisdiction beyond the refinery gate. No. Look, the oil operators, the joint venture partners are responsible. NNPC is responsible through NAPIMS. Security agents are responsible. All right. Look, and this is a relatively small part of the country. It is not too much. What should Saudi Arabia do? They have many times the acreage we have in Nigeria. We have to adopt new technology. It is not beyond, but look, if you have corrupt people in charge, it does not matter. Especially if everybody involved is corrupt. There's absolutely nothing you can do. And please, don't hold Dangote responsible. It has nothing to do with him. He will buy crude, refine, and sell to the public. It's not going beyond Dangote refinery. There's nothing he can do. Unless he claims he can do it. But I don't think he has claimed that.
So it goes back to this talk about corruption. Then how do we hold people accountable for this? Since we've been able to establish it's top to bottom and there are people involved, then how do we hold them by the hand? Some of them might probably be government officials, some of them might be the security architecture. The other day we saw some NSCDC officials caught in Rivers State for crude oil theft. Then how do we hold people accountable when the entire ecosystem is corrupt? How?
Grace of God. I'm sorry that I don't need to apologize. The grace of God we need. Yes, the grace of God. And then you need to choose a leader who will lead by example. After all, we used to have one in 1984, 85. What happened? What happened? It can be, in any case, it has to be done by a Nigerian. You cannot, are we going to bring the British back to do it for us? Or the Americans? We, Nigerians, have to do it. We can do it. We will have to use strong arms. We may have to eliminate some people. As I said before, this particular oil industry, you need to set out a armed security group. All right? And you will incentivize them properly. But before you do it, please take care of the community. When you have our National Assembly making so much money, and they let the injustice in the Niger Delta going on, why do you expect the community to cooperate with the authorities?
Well,
there must be justice and equity. It is fundamental.
well, justice and equity.
You, the media, must take front row in this fight.
But sir, before we begin to wrap up, I'd like to ask you what you think of the transition of NNPC to NNPC Limited, a limited liability company.
Well, we tried it in 1988. All right? It can work. It can work. It's been done all over the world. It can work. But look, who owns NNPC Limited? Who are the shareholders?
Ministry of Finance Incorporated.
Just answer that question.
Ministry of Finance
Then you
Incorporated.
know whether it will work or not. Eh?
Ministry of Finance Incorporated.
I can't hear you.
I said Ministry of Finance Incorporated.
Who owns Ministry of Finance Corporation? And who owns Ministry or who controls Ministry of Finance Corporation?
I guess that would be Nigerians.
Hello?
I guess that would be Nigerians.
No, it's not Nigeria. Don't put in Nigeria. Federal government. The federal government of Nigeria that used to also control NNPC directly. No, it can work. It's not that it cannot work. Look, we have very good people in Nigeria. I don't care what people say. We can have people, get good people to be in charge of NNPC Limited. The man there is about, you set up a target for him. You make this, you produce them, you make this return, you make this and that, and you hold him responsible for it. It's relatively simple. But if the powers that be must do something mago behind, what's he going to do? Nothing. They will just remove him.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just had a quick one. Sir, before now, you said that if we want the refineries to work, they will work. Is it that we don't want the refineries to work, or the government doesn't want the refineries to work? That's why it's not worked. As we wrap up, sir.
The government does not want the refinery to work. I say it. You can quote me. I say it publicly.
Okay, sir.
I've said it before.
Thank
Look,
you.
the technology to make the refineries to work are more than 50 years old, and they are developed every day. We have good people, good hard work in NNPC, they can work. But look, if the shareholder, the owner, does not want it to work, it will not work. And don't bring the people there. The people are consumers. They expect the refineries to work. They expect the refineries to work, and they should. Let me tell you something. We built Warri Refinery 1976 to 1978. On time, on budget. You know how much we built it for?
How much, sir?
356 million naira. We built Kaduna Refinery for 347 million naira, also on target. All right? They worked. But after a while, export licensing, you give turnaround maintenance to traders, and so on, and so on. And then now, they don't want it to work because they want to produce fuel oil, which they can use for bunkering. That is it. It is very simple. I can say it publicly. If anybody wants to dispute it, come out. I will debate anybody.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.